Hi, I'm Daniela, and this is Jocelyn. Thanks for coming back to our channel.
For those just joining us, we're a same-sex couple who've been married for over 2 years and have been trying to conceive for over a year now. This is our Lesbi-Honest experience with conception, and today we're going to talk about ways to pay for IVF.
As some of you may know, IVF, or in vitro fertilization, is the most expensive type of artificial insemination. And although it does have the highest success rates, many insurance companies do not cover IVF or the costs associated with it. This is why some people do need financial assistance when using IVF.
For more information on the different types of artificial insemination and the cost breakdown associated with each, check out the link above.
As we referenced in the video above, the average cost of IVF can range anywhere between $15,000 and $30,000, depending on where you're located in the United States. Because of these high costs, we decided to look up and share with you some ways to help pay for IVF.
Before getting started, it's really important to have a clear understanding of how much a cycle of IVF will cost for you. As Forbes Health notes, most clinics will have a base fee for IVF, and that should include things like your monitoring appointments, your blood work, your egg retrieval, and your follow-up care. A good general rule of thumb is if you're quoted for about $12,000 or under, then that base fee for IVF might not include all the things I just listed. And likewise, if you're quoted over $14,000, they might be adding other things than just what I talked about.
Unfortunately, the base fee is not going to be the only thing you have to worry about when it comes to IVF. You're going to have to take into consideration the injectable medications, which are not included and usually run about $3,000 to $5,000, as well as if you need multiple embryo transfers, embryo storage, and things of that nature. And sometimes you need to do a whole nother cycle of IVF.
Since every clinic has their own way of doing things, this is why we highly recommend getting a clear list of what the base fee includes, as well as any additional costs that will need to be added on. So this way it avoids any scenario where you're scrambling around to try to find more funds than you thought you really needed.
Once you have that not so magic number of how much IVF will cost you, then the search for how to pay for it will begin.
So for the rest of this video, we're going to share different ways to pay for IVF.
Not every option may be the right fit for you, but we thought we would share what we learned so you can determine what is the right fit for you.
That being said, a great place to start is by calling your insurance company if you have insurance to see if there's anything that they will cover regarding IVF treatment. The next best place would be to reach out to the clinic you're working with. They may have financial assistance options in the form of payment plans, clinical trials that you can be a candidate for, or shared risk or refund programs.
The clinic we chose to work with offers a shared risk program for IVF. This means that for a flat rate, you will get 6 full cycles of IVF, unlimited frozen embryo transfers, or a 100% money back guarantee if you're unhappy or decide to stop at any time.
Although the cost of a shared risk program is a bit higher than the average cost of IVF, it is really appealing because you have an extremely high success rate for pregnancy, and you're also given the peace of mind that if it doesn't work, you can get your money back.
There are a few caveats to joining a shared risk program. One of them being what is determined as a successful cycle of IVF. So our clinic determines a successful cycle by giving birth to a live baby, where some other clinics may call a successful cycle just a positive pregnancy test or a pregnancy that lasts a certain number of weeks, which means that if you miscarry, you do not get a refund.
Another thing to be mindful of when joining the shared risk program is the fee is expected upfront,
Which sucks.
Also, this fee doesn't cover the medications associated with IVF, so whatever you're quoted for the shared risk program, you should also equate an additional $3,000 to $6,000 for the medication each time you need to try IVF. And that medication cost is not refunded. It's just the shared risk base fee that's refunded.
Other things that may not be covered by the shared risk program is pre-screening procedures, co-pays, as well as embryo storage.
So this is another scenario where making sure you have a clear, detailed list of what's covered and any additional costs that will be needed is super important to get before making your final decision.
The last thing to be mindful of is that not everyone will be a candidate for this type of program. In many cases, women over the age of 38 might be turned away right off the bat. And in some situations, if you have already had several failed attempts at IVF, they may also turn you away from joining this type of program.
So there are some downsides to joining a shared risk program, but of course the upside is that you have the peace of mind that you'll recoup some of your initial investment if things don't work out in the end.
Another option that may be available to you is starting a fundraiser to help raise money for the cost of fertility treatment. The giftofparenthood.org, which we will link in the description below, is a great resource for starting a fundraiser to help you raise funds for your fertility treatments.
The cool thing about this site is they also offer grants to help build your family. So once you create a fundraiser, you have the ability to apply for some of these grants to get additional funding.
Resolve.org is another site that offers some fundraising opportunities. This site is unique in that it allows you to create physical events that you can raise money at for your cause.
Other options we've seen are creating GoFundMe accounts or even having an auction or fundraiser through social media like Instagram.
The best part about fundraising is that you don't have to worry about paying back the loan. But the difficult part of fundraising is the legwork to get your fundraiser off the ground.
You may also need a backup plan in case you aren't able to raise the amount of funds that you need.
If a fundraiser doesn't feel like the right fit for you, you can try to apply for some grants and scholarships. Similar to fundraising, grants are great because you do not have to come up with the funds to repay them, but there are some things that go into applying for grants and scholarships.
First and foremost, grant committees like happy success stories, so they're unlikely to choose people who don't have good odds at conception. There's also a lot of stipulations, and there can be application fees sometimes, and there are always deadlines. So it's important to read the fine print when applying for grants.
We've applied for some grants since finding out we may need to get IVF. We have not heard back yet, but if you're interested in learning about grants, you can check out the link in the description of this video for Fertility IQ.
You can also check for local grants offered in your area, which may be more fruitful. So what if you tried fundraising and you've applied for all the grants and you're still stuck?
Then a fertility specialist loan might be right for you. This type of loan is right for anyone who wants to work with a lender who specifically specializes in fertility and will work directly with your clinic.
Resolve.org has thoughtfully compiled a list of infertility financing programs, which I will make sure to link in the description below.
Availability for fertility specialty loans is going to depend on your credit history, your income, and your debt obligations. And in some cases, your loan may not cover your full cost of IVF or treatment, and you may still need to come up with the funds another way.
If you have decent credit and you're looking for fast, convenient cash, an online personal loan may be a viable option. It's important to note that interest rates can fluctuate drastically depending on the personal loan provider that you choose, so doing your research on the best that's available to you would be super helpful. We did find a NerdWallet article that talks about the top-rated online personal lenders, which I'll link in the description below.
In some cases, if your credit is good enough, you may be able to apply for a 0% interest credit card for an introductory period. This means that you wouldn't have to pay interest on your purchases for a specific period of time. After that time period, the interest rates will rise, so you may want to make sure you choose a card that has a time limit in which you can pay it off before then.
Usually the introductory period is anywhere between 12 and 21 months. So if you know that you can pay back the full amount that you borrowed within that time period, a 0% interest credit card may work for you.
Lending Tree has compiled a list of top-rated low-interest credit cards, which we will link for you in the description below.
Now, if you are someone who has imperfect or thin credit history, a credit union loan may be a better option. We're not too familiar with credit unions, but we did provide a link in the description below if you'd want to explore this option.
Lastly, if you own a home with sufficient equity, you can get a home equity line of credit.
This allows you to potentially borrow up to 85% of your home's appraised value. So a HELOC, or the home equity line of credit, works very similar to a credit card in that you only pay interest on the amount that you borrow. The important things to know about a HELOC is that it has a fluctuating interest rate, and that if you aren't able to pay it back, you do risk losing your home.
Currently, we don't own our own home, so we haven't looked too much into this option, but we did provide links for you with more information below. We know that this is a ton of information, but we hope that throughout all of this, you can find some way to pay or finance your IVF treatments.
We're currently still looking at the options for ways to pay for IVF treatment ourselves, so we totally understand how overwhelming this can be.
Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, we have applied for some grants. We've also applied with Future Family funding, trying to see the type of loan that we can get, if any. So we're working through all the details, but share with us if you've ever found a more creative way that we haven't described about paying for IVF, because we're always open to new suggestions, and I'm sure our other viewers out there are too.
If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe.
And don't forget to turn on your notifications to see where we are in our modern day conception.
Be on the lookout for our next video, where we'll discuss more about what the endometriosis specialist had to say about our current situation.
See you soon.